We're going to talk about how to find carpenter ants and how to stop carpenter ants. Um, I don't know if you need to call a pest company right away. The problem with the pest company is they're just going to spray, and sure, it might get rid of the ants for a while, but you need to figure out why you have the carpenter ants and what you can do to stop them from wanting to be there. And that's what this whole video is about. Most of the time, people keep calling the pest companies and they keep spraying, and they're just contaminating their home with chemicals every month. And they may be controlling them, but they haven't figured it out. So, this video is going to teach you how to self diagnose your house, how to find these guys, not necessarily kill them, but take away their environment. And if you can take away their environment, then they're not going to want to hang out. All right? So let's go right into this. I have a little slideshow, and let's go. All right. So, all right. So, how to find and stop carpenter ants. So, you know, this is what they look like. They're black generally, okay? And I'll show you another close up of how you can tell the difference. Um, they have like, kind of curved bodies, different. They're not like straight, and they have several parts to their body. Um, they're about, I don't know, quarter inch to three-quarters of an inch. The queen's a little bit bigger. They're black, but they can be, different colors too. All right. This is not a carpenter ant. This is a mound ant. A little bit different, way more curved, brown. Okay, and generally they live outside in a big mound. That's why they're called mound ants. And they're usually, they may come in your home, but it's the carpenter ants that we're worried about. The difference between a termite and a carpenter ant is they do have wings in the spring. They're called swarmers. Is that if you have a termite, the wings are the same size. The ants have two different size wings. A lot of times you'll see them flying trying to get out of your house. That's a problem. That means, you've got swarmers, and you definitely got a satellite colony somewhere. Now, it may not be the main colony. Generally, it isn't. The big colony might be somewhere outside, underground, in a tree stump. And the bodies are different, and you can see how the antennas on a termite is straight, the body is straight, whereas an ant has three different sized body parts. It's not straight, and the antennas are different. Usually, you'll see them in areas where there's moisture. Now, that's the key. We're looking for moisture. We're looking for leaks. We're looking for condensation. Okay, they do like food, so they will find places to forage. However, they will nest and harbor in wet areas. They don't really eat wood, okay? And I'm going to show you how to tell the difference between carpenter ant frass, termite, powder post beetle, and other types of ants. I have samples here, and we'll get into that a little bit later, okay? So they make galleries, and what they do is they just nest in it, and they kind of move. They'll pick up the frass and move it somewhere. And usually the frass is kind of dirty. Frass is sawdust. Doesn't look like, like when with your saw, they actually push their dead out and all their garbage. So it's kind of dirty frass, okay? And they like the wet wood. This is kind of what it looks like from a picture. I'll show you some close-ups of that in a few minutes. This is what it looks like, when you dump it out. Now this is kind of clean, okay? And so this frass might not be carpenter ant. This is probably carpenter bee, okay? So there's a difference. I know they look the same, but you'll see a little bit later. And this is what they do. They pretty much destroy the wood, and they do a lot of damage, especially if it's wet. Now, they're not gonna, I'm not saying they don't attack dry wood, but they will attack wet wood. Outside, they look for deteriorated wood, like they have trees and bushes and branches, and then, the builders clean it all up and build houses. So now the houses become the wood, and they're so tight that you have condensation problems. So, you've got to start thinking about leaks, like gutters that overflow. They could be up in the gutter areas. Okay, you want to look at ponding water around the foundation. Okay, because that can cause deterioration underneath your porches and your decks. In the basement, you want to have your sub pump sealed. If you have condensation or high humidity, or your basement smells musty, well, the ants are going to find the wettest place. Now, the place to start looking is always, and you go in your basement under doors, pull out the insulation. Under sliding doors, pull out the insulation. The north side is always colder. That's where condensation and dew point occur first. You can pull that insulation out. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to do that. All right. You'll see them in this. If you see them start coming out right after winter in your house, you have a colony inside. Okay, because they usually wait till June, but if they're in there in February, March, then you got something going on inside. Carpenter ants eat honeydew, from trees, so they will attack certain trees. They'll eat insects, whether they're live or dead. Plants, juices, fruits, other sweets. They'll plants. Okay, syrup, honey. They like sugar. I'm not sure they like fake sugar and man-made type products, but they do like natural products. Okay, food scraps. I'm not sure they eat McDonald's or Burger King. I bet if you put a burger down, they wouldn't touch it. But they will eat, and they will eat food that's good. Okay, usually organic food, things like that, and they'll carry it back to the nest. What they'll do is they'll eat it, and then they'll regurgitate it, feed it to the queen. Okay, and then the queen, she develops the larvae and they get more ants. Okay, up in the attic, they like to attack bees' nests, so there'll be wars. They like the honey from the bees' nests, and also in decks and porches. And a lot of times, what they do is the frass is never near where the ants are at. They'll sometimes move that stuff 4 or 5 feet. So if you find it, doesn't mean that's where they're there. They'll move it. Okay, garage back walls always, because the gutters leak in the back, right? And people don't take care of the backs of the garages. So these are the banjoist pockets. So here, you remove the insulation, and you find out it's wet. And why is it wet? Maybe your siding's leaking. Maybe you have EIFS siding that doesn't have a proper vapor drainage plane. Maybe they forgot to put weep holes into your brick, and so the brick is getting wet. And you've got solar diffusion. Maybe the windows are leaking. Maybe you've got Pella windows, aluminum clad, that are rotting. And so you have to figure that out. And maybe the ground level is too high, and maybe your foundation isn't sealed or waterproofed, and so the water's getting in there. So you need to figure that out. A lot of times you can walk around the basement and just look for these kind of stains. Okay, here. You won't see them in here because there'll be insulation, but you'll see this. And then when you see that, pull out the insulation and take a look. All right, and here's one with insulation, and you could see there's frass. And when you move the frass, there's the ants. They're all hanging out there, and those are carpenter ants. You could see them, and they're all getting mad now because we exposed their little place. So a lot of times they are in the band joist. Okay, there could be in walls where low roofs and high roofs meet, and they're wet, like where ice dams occur. Okay, they could also be where there's leaks, like here. There's a leak here, all right, and the ants are hanging out. They need that moisture. They like that moisture. The life cycle, basically, one fertilized queen will lay eggs, and she'll feed the firstborn, and the firstborn will gather food and feed the larvae. It takes about 3 to 6 years for a colony to reach full maturity. And every year they swarm, and when they swarm, that means there's new ones leaving with wings, so they could bigger. Okay, all right. So this is the Carpenter Ant Queen. You probably won't see her, and I just showed you the difference earlier with the curved antenna versus the straight, and the curved body versus the straight body. And then if you don't see them, you just see wings inside your window walls. Look at the wings. If they're different size, they're Carpenter ants. And of course, you can kill them with different types of products. Now, this is showing you to spray. And I'm not going to get into, all the different ant-killing chemicals, okay? You can call your pest company on that. And their stuff is better than the stuff you're going to get at Home Depot. The malarity's more intense, but you have to be licensed to put this stuff down. This video is more like, let's find the moisture. Let's figure that out. you know. And a lot of times when it rains, if the gutters overflow, here the tree's got a hole in it, right? And another thing is when the wind blows, a tree falls down. Go look at that tree. It's hollow usually because it's been deteriorated, and once it gets sick, the ants take over and they live in that tree. And that could be the main colony. And a main colony could have a lot of ants and could have separate satellite colonies. And that's what happens to these trees. They fall on your house. This is exterior, and we're going to get to these little samples here in a second. But look for shaded areas, okay? Trees that hang over the house. The north side of the house, look at that side because it's always cooler. You know, they always crawl on telephone cables, electric wires. Look for, you don't want to put wood piles in your garage or in your basement or your house. Go check out the wood piles. And if you cut trees down, you got to get rid of stumps. Don't leave the stumps because they will become carpenter ant havens, okay? And of course, rotted siding, windows, doors. And so in this particular house, it was shaded. It was cool. It was on the north, all right? And, oh, there's some wires, okay? And that's it. The ants are moving. They go kind of slow. When they're moving, that means they're full of food. And they're moving slower. And so you could try to follow them where they go. Sometimes you hang around the house and just watch them for a while. Just put a chair out there. Don't move. These guys are smart. They're going to know you're watching them. They're going to stop. So back up a little bit and you can see where they're going. You may find out they're going into a soffit and they're up in the attic, okay? Or they may be inside that wall because the window's leaking, okay? And so when they're moving down slow, that means they're going back to get more food wherever they're getting the food, okay? So you want to look for the paths the ants follow. You know, the slow guys are the ones carrying a payload. The fast ones are leaving it. So you could kind of see the traffic, you know, and you want to look for shaded areas, cool areas. The north is always cooler, so check that. Like in your backyard, let's say that's the north. Go look underneath that sliding door. A lot of those sliding doors leak. Go look underneath the window. Go look underneath the back door and pull out the insulation in the basement and check it out, okay? And so basically these guys are up in the soffits, okay? And so let's now look at some of these frass F-R-A-S-S examples, okay? And let's go to the book here. So this one here, okay, if you can see it, let me, okay, if you can see this, it's a little shiny, but you can see how this is dirty. I'll actually open one of these up and dump some out. But this one here, you can see the dead ants. What they do is they push the dead ant, they push the dead out with them, okay? Here's another one, okay? And, sorry about that. Here's another one. And you can see here, again, you can see the dark ant parts. These are all ant parts. When they die, they just push them out like the garbage. So this is definitely Carpenter Ant frass. Now this is not Carpenter Ant frass, okay? This is from another kind of ant. And these were I don't know where they got this stuff at, but this is from I think it was red ants or sugar ants, okay? Different. Okay, there's no frass, it's kind of clean, all right? This is powder post beetle. And if you see, it's dusty. It's like a dust, like a talcum powder. You see this? So these are wood-borne insects too. Now, if you hit the wood and this dust comes falling out, this light dust, you got powder post beetle. They like 20% moisture too. It seems like the wood destroying insects like moisture and humidity. Carpenter ants want moist wood. Termites want moist wood. Subterranean termites that we have. These guys want moist wood. Now, carpenter bees don't care. Now, this is not Carpenter Ant frass. This is a dirty floor that I swept up, and these are spices from kitchens. But see how you can be tricked, okay, with this? Okay, so, you know, I just threw that out there for a minute. So let's take a look at a close-up view, all right, of a carpenter ant. So let's just let's look at this close-up, okay? So this one's carpenter ant. And let's look at this. Okay, if you look here, look at that Mr. Ant Head. You know, little ant head over there. You know, oh, these are a little, see all the black stuff? That's the carpenter ants. When they die, there's one there. Okay, so they like to throw the dead out. So this is how you can tell. Okay, and sometimes the shavings are different. You know, it depends on the age of the ant colony. Will depend on and also depends on what kind of wood you got in your house. But you see like the black stuff right there. So okay, and so really what we're trying to do here is um, let me get back to here. So what we want to do is we could start off right off the bat by getting a dehumidifier, running the dehumidifier in the basement. Boom. Two, go to the sub pump, get yourself a sub pump lid, 100% seal it up, and that way no moist air can rise out of there. Unplug your dehumidifier because that's not helping, and then go look for any ventless appliance that you may have going on. You want to stop the moisture that we're generating. Now we got to go look for moisture. We got to find out what's leaking. Go outside, look at the siding. Is it leaking? Is there holes from woodpeckers? We want to check that out. Let's go look and see if the siding is leaking, if the front porch is leaking. Maybe there's a kick out that's leaking. Maybe it's a window, okay, or a sliding door. Okay, you need to. Sometimes it could be plumbing. There could be, an old house galvanic reaction, and there's like a galvanized pipe touching a copper pipe with that free electron, and it's drip, drip, and that's all they need is that one drip, and that's enough to keep them going because it'll keep that whole place wet. So, find the moisture, control the moisture, and you will control the carpenter ants. They will leave. And if they don't leave, then you could spray them and they won't come back. But if it's still wet and you have not fixed that problem, you could hire all the pest companies you want. And they're just going to keep poisoning your house with chemicals. And we already live in a chemical world. The last thing we want to do is have more chemicals if we don't need them. So, hey, by the way, I do have a service. If you have a house problem or any kind of problem, just Google call Marko with a question, and I'll come up. There's a small fee, and within usually 15 minutes to, I don't know, half an hour, I've got a 97% rate of solving your problem on the phone without ever going out to the house. And I'll let you know if I could do it, if I think I know what the problem is, because I'll ask you a certain question. I've been doing this for 33 years. I've done 18,000 homes. I've got all kinds of certifications. So, moisture, mold, odors, whatever, usually if somebody can't figure it out, I'm pretty good at it. I'll figure it out. So you can use that service. If you're local, just give me a call. And, we can come out there. We do have inspection fees and we have report fees. So you can give us a call. I will leave a few links below and some products also, which I'll let you know. I'll put them down there where I'll put links for you. All right. So, hey, thanks for coming on. Please subscribe and watch the rest of I have a lot of videos. We're going to do a lot of these videos. And so like and subscribe. And so you guys have a nice day. So thank you very much.